be a little thin this year on defenses in their linebacker core. They've got a solid front line, and their defensive backs are pretty much intact from last year, but we lost a couple of good linebackers, notably John Schnell.
And Ryan Finn is the other one who's spectacular.
So it's gonna be a test for the Wadsworth linebackers right off the bat. The feeling generally is that Wadsworth can't physically match up with Barberton, but can outplay him. I'll tell you something else to look for. In the first game of the season, particularly in high school football, a lot of nervous kids out there. There's a lot of goofy mistakes and a lot of turnovers. And if Wadsworth can capitalize on maybe some Barberton mistakes and also not make any of their own, that would make the game go a little bit better. So those are some of the things that you can look for tonight in this first game of the season.
Grizzlies finished 6-4 last season and 5-2 in the Suburban League. Here's your game time weather. 74 degrees and partly cloudy, like I mentioned, a delightful evening.
One of the things, the rules would change this year. I'm sure all you people know the playoffs have been expanded to where 8 teams in each region make the playoffs. So consequently, the first game of the season is being played tonight before school even starts. And one of the implications of that is the schools are now only allowed to have one scrimmage. And this, again, the kids aren't ready to play like they've been in the past. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the mistakes, what have you.
Yeah, and there's some pros and cons to that extra playoff week. You're going to get some mismatches there in that first round because they're going to put them the number 1 seed versus number 8, 2 versus 7, etc. And the 4 higher-rated teams will host the opening round.
Galper kicking off for Wadsworth. Wadsworth won the toss but deferred, and the ball was out of bounds. And Barberton will get the ball on the 35-yard line if they accept the penalty. Galford is back this year. He had a pretty good year last year kicking. He was 4 for 6 in field goals. Wadsworth didn't try that many field goals. In extra points, he only missed one. So that's a positive note coming back. The quarterback for Barberton, to my knowledge, this is his first varsity start.
Yes, it is. And the quarterback is Zach Laskanik, 5'11", 155 sophomore. And he is number 7. And you mentioned about the line of Wadsworth. That's where they're going to be tough, Larry, both on offense and defense. So Wadsworth starting out on defense with a front 5. The handoff goes to Harris. And he takes it to about the 37.
Gained about 2 yards, and it was good there. The Wadsworth stopped at the line of scrimmage. When you talk about the Barberton quarterback in sophomore first game, don't look for them to throw anything deep. If they throw any passes at all, they'll probably be throwing the ball to Harris on little short outs or out in the flat, something like that. Just a quick 3-step drop, throw out to the wing. Referee's calling a timeout.
Yeah, Harris. You called him Poochie. Must be a nickname. Darren is his first name.
Darren is his given name, yes.
Last year he rushed for 1,150 yards and 19 touchdowns. And he averaged 6.2 yards per carry.
I know in the Mayfield game, the playoff game, he carried the ball 38 times. So look for him to carry another 38 tonight. 2nd down and 8.
The pitch goes to Harris around the left end. Runs into a group of Grizzlies across the 40 to the 43.
One thing going in Wadsworth's favor, if they know that the quarterback isn't going to throw the ball, they can bring their backers and their defensive ends up a little tighter, and that'll help quite a bit.
Jake Wilhite just ran off the field with his helmet off his head. Don't know if he needed some new equipment there.
It looks like it's a problem with his helmet. Doesn't seem to be anything wrong with him. So it's going to be 3rd down and 3 for the Magic. See what they do here.
We got Hanna and McCarthy at safety now. Another pitch to Harris, this time around the right end. Finds some running room across the 50, down to about the 47.
Well, that's what Wadsworth's going to be looking at all night. He is so quick. He was heading for the outside and saw it, the defensive end, linebacker, corner. They were all playing a bit outside. Managed to cut the ball inside and pick up the 1st and 10. So that's the first down for tonight.
Referee starts the clock. 10.5 minutes to go in the first.
First down and 10, ball on the 47-yard line of the Grizzlies.
Whistle blows.
There seems to be a little bit of confusion on the play, but the refs are getting everything sorted out, and their referee winds his arm, starts the clock. So we've had 4 plays for Barberton, and Harris has carried the ball each play. Now, there's a hand up to the up back, the fullback, which goes for basically nothing.
Mechanic handoff goes to number 27.
On the line for Wadsworth, we've got Doug Perigo, sophomore. He's the nose tackle. And you see Matt Delnos, the senior.
McElvain, number 76, Doug Perigo.
Ian Formaz is at...
Gain of 2 yards for the Magic. 2nd down and 8.
Or that's Jeff Dietrich, I'm sorry, at the tackle spot. Try to get all these numbers straightened out here as the game goes along. Pitch to Harris, and he gets brought down at the line of scrimmage by Matt Delnos, the 6'3 senior.
That was nicely diagnosed by Delnos. He was in the backfield almost as fast as the handoff was and stopped Harris in his tracks for a loss of about 5 yards. So that'll bring up a 3rd and 12 for Barberton.
Loss of 4 yards on the play brings up 3rd down and 12 for the Magic.
Josh Miracle, of course, the anchor of the offensive line at center, is also in on the defensive line. And Mechanic drops back, has to roll over. Plenty of room to run, throws it down the sideline. And it's going to be called caught at the 39.
But I don't think it's going to be a first down. I think he came up just short. It's going to be, they're spotting about 2 yards short of the first down. So it was a nice catch by the receiver, but he should have gotten another couple yards downfield. So here comes the first decision for the Barberton coaches with a 4th down, 2 on the Wadsworth 39-yard line. What are they doing? It looks like they're going to go for it.
Well, with the running back they have, why not?
Quarterback Johnson Mechanic is on the field.
Nearing deep into Wadsworth territory.
The Wadsworth backs, or defensive backs, sneaking up on the play.
And it is to Harris. He steps around the end, fakes another move, and he's going to go in for a Barberton touchdown.
Number 32.
Harris just chipped around the end, made a couple fancy moves on Wadsworth defenders, and he just had plenty of room to run right into the end zone. 6-0 Barberton.
Well, I was watching the Wadsworth corners and linebackers, particularly on this side, and they were cheating a little bit. They were sneaking up to try to stop the play off the middle. And so many times when you have that happen, if you can get through that initial point of contact, there's nothing there. And Harris made one beautiful move cut to the outside, and then
on for the extra point attempt.
39 yards.
The snap, number 58, Lepofsky. Number 6,
you've got
Swain
51
to hold.
yards
Number
total
23,
so far in this
Brown
series of
to
downs.
kick.
And if you want to know what Barberton's going to do all night, I think you saw it right there.
Keith Brown in to kick the extra point for Barberton.
Kick is up.
It's up and good.
And it is good.
A 5'8".
And the Magic strike first with 8 minutes, 52 seconds here in the first period.
So 8:52 to go in the first quarter. Barberton goes up 7-0. And now I have to talk to people about what you've been waiting for all summer. You know, every year on WCTV, we pick another football team that we follow just to see how they do. And if you remember 4 years ago, we were taking a look at the Philo Electrics, who went on to make the playoffs, by the way. And the year after that, we had the Castelia Margaretta Purple Polar Bears, who also made the playoffs. 2 years ago, it was the Crooksville Ceramics, who also made the playoffs. Last year, we were watching the North Lima South Range Red Raiders, who unfortunately did not make the playoffs. They got beat by a very tough Mineral Ridge team. Well, this year, I'm happy to announce the team that we're going to be following is the Shelby Whippets. So all season long, we'll be keeping you posted on how the Shelby Whippets do. Tonight, for their first game, believe it or not, they're playing the Castelia Margaretta Purple Polar Bears. So we'll get the results of that. Isn't that a coincidence?
Brown going to kick it off. Back deep for Wadsworth is Joe Tricomi. He takes the ball, runs right up the middle, has some room, and he's tripped up by Pat Shine
Number 6, Joe
at
Tricomi
the 36 or so of Wadsworth.
That was a 27-yard return by Tricomi. And you could see that wall set up. Here the ball's coming down. Just off to your right of screen, Wadsworth had a very good wall set up. They're just coming into your screen right now. And he busted right through. Now, I'm not saying that was the last possible tackler, but there was only one person, the kicker, between him and the goal line.
With the loss of Dan Marino and David Lance, we're going to have Tricomi and Nate Stone in the backfield for Wadsworth. Hoover under center. Fakes a handoff to Comey. Rolling, looking, and finds Ben Vujis, who takes it to the Barberton 42 before he's pushed out of bounds.
Well, when you talk about the Wadsworth receivers, of course, Adam Copeland had a career year last year. Chris Brink at tight end is very good. He's amazingly fast for a tight end. But some of the coaches were telling me that Vujis has really come on this year. And that was a 23-yard reception for him. And as we said, you know what Barberton's going to do? Give the ball to Harris. You just saw what Wadsworth is going to be doing all night long.
The give is to Tricomie. A little off tackle move there. Takes it up to the 31 of the Magic.
Nice run. Nice run. I'm impressed so far at the first couple of plays with the Wadsworth offensive line. They're keeping the Barberton team sealed out, and they're opening the holes for the running back.
On the line for Wadsworth, you have Ian Formaz and Evan Gosser at the tackles, Matt Delnos at guard, Josh Miracle anchoring at center, Chris Brink, the tight end. And we've got Vujis and Copeland split to the right. Hoover's in trouble, and he is sacked right behind the line.
Open receiver, and he's wrapped up by number 58, Andy Lepovsky.
Andy Lepovsky.
Well, that was going to be a take one step back and a quick pop to Vujis, who's coming across the middle. And Vujis was actually open, and it would have been an easy catch in a big game for Wadsworth. But as I indicate, watch right there, Vujis is open, but then he had to pull the ball back down because of the pressure, and down he went. So that's what you're going to see Barberton do, bringing people, stunning, trying to put pressure on Hoover.
3rd and 6 for Wadsworth. Give it to Tricomie.
He's going to come up short.
Handoff going to number 6, Tricomie.
Tricomie, a 5'10 junior. And another question mark for the Grizzlies. Larry is going to be the running backs. The loss of David Lance and Dan Marino.
We'll go back even further than that. Remember Dan Herbert a couple of years ago, then Kyle Obendorf, outstanding running back. And last year with the combination of Lance and Marino, we're going to see who has to step up as running back this year. Wadsworth going for it on 4th down and 2, no surprise.
Tricomie up the middle, and he looks like he got it.
Should have it about half a yard.
Got it to the 30-yard line of Barberton, and they're signaling first down. Nice run there.
Well, both teams have shown that they're not afraid to go for it on 4th down. They've kept the drive going each time.
Ben Vujis ran off the field, and the senior Ben Osterlund. So we have 2 Bens that are playing the slot position. They will run in plays during the game from Coach Dennison on the sideline.
Well, look at this offense. It's a spread formation, no running backs at all. And the Barberton defense looks confused.
And Hoover's going to keep it and go himself, and he gains about 12 yards, 13 yards on the ground.
You're looking at the Barberton defense. They didn't know what to do with that, and they were getting happy feet back in the backfield trying to figure out who to cover what. And when Hoover just looked to his left, he found, hey, there's nobody here. The backers are all
hole.
Yeah. And he just tucked it in, and that spread formation is interesting. If you're not looking for that, it's very difficult to cover as to who's going to cover what.
Tricomie and the senior Nate Stone in the backfield in I formation. Give to Tricomie. Tries to get around the right. He's tripped up at about the 14-yard line of Barberton.
Give him a gain of 2, but there was nothing there. The Barberton defense did a very good job of stringing that play out. And Tricomie had nowhere to cut, nowhere to run up. Watch the Barberton defense string it out to the side, string it out to the side. Looking, no hole, and then basically nowhere to go.
That tackle was made by R.J. Swain, the cornerback for the Magic. Joe Tricomie out of the game. Matt Four now in at tailback. Osterlund and Copeland split to the left. Hoover sees Osterlund. Touchdown, Wadsworth.
That should only be 5 points because it was so easy. Osterlund came absolutely wide open off the line, and Hoover goes back to see Osterlund to the top of your screen. There's just no one near him, and Hoover just had all day to throw the ball. The nearest defender was, I would say 7 yards off the play. They were in man-to-man coverage, and nobody picked up Osterlund.
The Barberton strong safety, Evan Sabaticki,
15-yard pass play for Wadsworth.
Galpert for the extra point. Jeff Hanna, the senior safety, holding. And the kick is good, so with 5:22 left in the first quarter, Wadsworth ties the game at 7.
That was a fairly impressive drive for Wadsworth. The passes were there when they had to be, but also they got some pretty good runs, which is the question mark for the Wadsworth offense. The final touchdown pass was 15 yards. Wadsworth had 3 first downs during that play, that drive.
Nice frozen shot at the goalpost there.
So, talking to some people up at the school, they're saying this could turn into a track meet with whoever got the ball last, winning the game. And so far, that's what it looks like happening. The only thing that surprised me is there have been no penalties on either side of any consequence and no real mistakes.
Something we forgot to mention of importance, Larry. The Barberton Magics are dedicating this season to a player they lost due to an accidental death earlier this summer. And he was Rayshun Davis, a junior who would have been a starting quarterback. So we at WCTV wish the best to the Magics and the Davis family, of course.
That was a real tragedy. There are a number of articles written in the Beacon Journal about that there was a quality kid that this shouldn't have happened to, and the Barberton team took it very poorly.
Kick by Galpert, bounces at the 10, and it's fielded by Quentin Walton, and he brings it across the 20 to about the 24. There's a flag down late. May have been a late hit on the pile there, not sure.
When you see a flag like that, it usually is. I haven't seen any signals yet from the referees, but they're talking to the Barberton captain.
So Magic
calling a block below the waist on the run back, that the one you call on virtually every run back, and it's against Barberton, so consequently it's going to be moved back.
Magic
tonight.
with some added emotions in this ball game, and that can't hurt you as far as motivation for a ball game.
Well, on the other side of the field, I'm sure you people are aware of Coach Greg Dennison, the head coach of the Wadsworth Grizzlies, suffered a seizure on Monday and was hospitalized. He's on the sidelines, and I've heard that he's feeling pretty good, but it's kind of a scary situation when 34-year-old Greg was struck with the seizure.
Yeah, he was released from Akron General on Wednesday, and the doctors cleared him to be here tonight, and he is.
Well, Barberton's going to be starting out from their own 13-yard line.
Hand off to Harris. He's going to see the ball out tonight. He loses a handle on it. Ball up in the air. Picked up by 4.
That almost looked like a couple of sets for volleyball where Harris was hit, the ball pops in the air. One of the Barberton linemen made a grab for it. Watch this. Harris will get hit as he comes in the line. The ball pops in the air. Then a Barberton lineman goes to grab for it. It pops in the air again. There goes the first pop. There's the second pop. And
right into the hands of Matt Four.
And Four managed to bring it back to the about 11-yard line. Remember I said at the start of the game, the goofy plays like that could make big turnarounds in this ball game.
10 Wadsworth, ball on the Magic 12. He throws it to Brink. Touchdown, Chris Brink. Crossing pattern by Chris Brink. Ball is caught over the shoulder, and the height of Chris Brink allows him to just reach up in the air and bring that one down. So the first play after the turnover, Mike Hoover connects again for a Wadsworth Grizzly touchdown. That was Mike Whittam on Brink.
Chris Brink is listed at 6'3", 205 pounds. And the thing that amazes me about him, there's penalty flag on the extra point kick, is how fast he is for a person that size. Now, when he came out of there on the crossing route, he was team paired up with the safety, and the safety could not keep up with him. And so far, Hoover's having a career night. He's 3 for 3, 50 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And on that particular drive, he has 3 for... No, I'm sorry, that was for the whole night.
Well, last year as a junior, Hoover threw for 1,603 yards and 14 touchdowns. He's already got 2 here tonight. Galpert to put the Grizzlies up by 7 points. Again, Jeff Hanna, the holder, kicks up and good. And with 5:03 left in the first, Wadsworth 14, Barberton 7.
I think you could say that Hoover is a legitimate Division I candidate, and If I had to guess, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up playing ball in the MAC. But he's going to be scouted by a lot of college staffs this year. He's big, he's strong, he's quick, and of course he's a very accurate passer and a good all-around athlete to boot. So you might want to watch that as the season goes on, who shows interest in him. And here we go for the third kickoff for Wadsworth tonight.
Well, Chris Brink last season caught a good 2 catches per game. He caught 21 passes for 465 yards and 7 touchdowns for an average of 22 yards per catch.
Now, you got to remember, folks, that's from a tight end. And what that's telling me is that he can really ramble after he gets the ball. I think it's, I don't want to call it amazing, but for a person that big to be that fast is quite impressive.
Galford's kick is a good one. Fielded by Quentin Walton again. And he's running side to side instead of north to south, or in this case, south to north, and he's brought down by the Wadsworth special teams at about the 18 of Barberton.
After that first kickoff that went out of bounds, Galbert's been doing a good job of getting the ball downfield, and also the Wadsworth special teams are doing a good job of getting down on coverage. They're kicking the ball away from Harris, and you can see the Barberton players running laterally, not running north and south. That doesn't get you much.
That's Quentin Walton. In the backfield with Harris is number 27, Darrell Welch, a senior fullback. And Laskanik keeps it himself, a very nice move, and it's left up to Matt Ford to make the play.
That's the first option play that Wadsworth's seen all night. Keying on Harris like that, that does leave the quarterback free. That was a nice 14-yard pickup. It's an option all the way, but at this point, he's no longer thinking of pitching the ball. He's just tucking it and running because he saw that opening. Nice cut back in the middle there.
First and 10 on the 32 for Barberton.
That's probably going to be delay a game against Barberton. Look, Wadsworth lined up in the neutral zone. That's a 5-yard penalty against Wadsworth. It gives Barberton a 1st and 5.
Encroachment on the Wadsworth defense. So it makes it 1st and 5. Barberton picks up 5 yards on that penalty. Ball on the 37.
Is our spotter tonight, and he's doing the stats for us. And he came up with the interesting stat with all the offense Barberton shown. They've only picked up 2 first downs.
And Harris is smothered by a nice play on the Wadsworth defensive side. You can see the defensive front there just kind of formed a wall. And they know the ball's going to Harris, Larry, so.
Yep.
I think if they key on that all night, they shouldn't have too much to worry about. It's when he breaks free, they need to start worrying.
Well, again, you can't see from your picture, but how tight up the Wadsworth defensive backs are.
Laskanik keeps it again. Runs around the other end now, and Four has to chase him down again across the 50 and pushed out of bounds by Matt Four.
Well, when you're keying on one running back and cheating everybody into the middle, you're going to leave the outside open for these quarterback sweeps. The question is, are the Wadsworth defensive backs quick enough to read, to react, and get out there and stop it? So they're going to have to keep watching that because quarterback on 2 plays this drive has shown he can run the ball wide.
Wadsworth 48-yard line.
1st and 10 on the 48 for the Magic. High formation. Welch and Harris in the backfield. Pitch, sweep to Harris. Finds room around the left, and he gets crunched into Jake McIlvain. Ball is fumbled and pounced on by Jake Kurowski.
McIlvain jumped on the ball, but the referees had ruled that the ball was down. That play could have gone for really big yardage, but Harris did not get the pitch cleanly. He bobbled the ball a bit and had to like stutter step to make sure he had it before he went wide. But the Barberton line did a good job of getting him around the corner.
Greg Dent the junior, in at linebacker.
Wadsworth 40-yard line.
Harris already has 62 yards rushing, and we have 3 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Jake Wilhite, the outside linebacker, lining up on the line. And he's going to rush in. The handoff is to the up man, fullback Darrell Welch. He gains a few yards.
Darrell Welch, the ball carrier.
And gets a Barberton first down.
Up back is brought down by number
A little wrinkle there.
51.
Fake the pitch and then hand off to the up back going across the middle, just enough to pick up the first down. So it's going to be first and 10 Barberton on the 35-yard line, 36-yard line of Wadsworth. So far, neither team has been able to stop the other team except for the turnover and fumble by Barberton.
2.5 minutes to go in the first. Lascanic going to keep it again. He looks the pitch, but doesn't, and he's brought down behind the line of scrimmage by Evan Gosser, 6'3", 267 junior.
Gosser is a load. Another option play. Quarterback's running left, and here comes Gosser up. And hello, that's as far as you go. So far, Harris has carried the ball 62 yards, 7 carries, and that would be on a pace to carry the ball 36 times during this game, and that's kind of what we expected.
The reverse play nicely done by Barberton. R.J. Swain gets brought down by 4, but flags all over the place.
Well, what you had happening there, it worked very well and fooled the Wadsworth defense, but the quarterback, I believe, threw an illegal block. Is it? The quarterback threw an illegal block?
Also there with him.
Okay, here comes the quarterback, number 7, and watch, he'll block below the waist, which is, of course, you can't do that. So what was a fine play is going to be nullified. There was the block right there, just off screen. The block was on
Jake Wilhite.
Jake Wilhite. And so that's going to be a 15-yard penalty.
Oh, a nice play, but
the Barberton coaches think that it was a bad call. I'll be honest with you, I didn't see the play, and I didn't see the replay, that particular part of it. I was watching the ball carrier, and the block took place just off camera. So we really can't say whether that was a good call or not. But as that is, it brings up a second down and 23 for the Magic. And this is where they're going to be in trouble. When you've got a running game and you've got a second and 23, you're almost forced to throw the ball, and they may not have that to work with.
Give is to Harris, right up the middle, gets down to the 45.
Gain of 4.
Brought down by Jake Karowski.
Darren Harris, the ball carrier.
That brings up a third down and about 19 yards to go, as they'll give them that, 4 yards on a second and 23.
Oh, it was Greg Dent, actually, the initial tackle there.
For 59 seconds to go in the first quarter.
Picking up 5 yards on that last penalty.
This is going to be interesting to see what they do on a 3rd and 19.
Screen pass is dropped and picked back up by Walton, and the ball is going to be ruled down by the referees.
Tell you what happened on that play. He threw the pass, but it was a backward pass, a lateral pass. And a lateral pass is a free ball. It's considered a fumble.
Just like a handoff.
Alertly, the Barberton back knew that and dove on the ball, because right now that's a free ball. And he dove on the ball, and the Wadsworth players hit him. Now they're claiming that he fumbled the ball, but the referees ruled after he picked up the ball and was hit, he was down at that spot. So Barberton is going to have to punt. It'll be the first punt of the game, I believe, for Barberton. And the clock's going to run out before him. So that's the end of the first quarter.
Score, Wadsworth Grizzlies 14, Barberton 7. The place kicker, Keith Brown, will be ready to punt when the second quarter begins. So their place kicker is also their punter.
You know, we talked about playoff situation, maybe we should talk a little bit about the Suburban League. And everybody I talked to, and also in the Beacon Journal, are saying that the Suburban League is as balanced as it's ever been than anybody can remember. You got 4 teams vying for the #1 spot. It would be Wadsworth, and also Copley, and Green, and Revere. But it isn't like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, basically. And all of those teams have pretty much their starting offense back.
7 of the 8 teams return their starting quarterbacks, Highland being the exception.
That's an amazing statistic, and I don't know if facetiously or not, the Beacon Journal writer said that he could see the Suburban ending up 4 teams tied at 5 and 2, and 4 teams tied at 2 and 5. The big games as far as Wadsworth are concerned are going to be their first Suburban League game, which is going to be 3 weeks from tonight when they play Revere, and also the final game of the year against Copley at home. Both those games, by the way, are at home. So those are going to be interesting games as far as this goes. Got some stats from the first quarter. John Gramugli is shoving these at me. As far as Barberton's concerned, Harris had 8 carries for 68 yards. Barberton was penalized twice for 50 yards. There were 4 first downs, all running. And the quarterback had 2 carries for 21 yards and completed 1 pass for 10 yards.
Keith Brown punts it to Ben Vujis, who makes a nice move on Barberton special teamer and takes it across the 25 to the 26.
Very good moves there, because there wasn't much there when the ball was punted. As far as Wadsworth is concerned, Tracomie has 4 carries for 19 yards. Wadsworth has 3 first downs, but of course the big story has been Hoover's passing, passed for the 2 TDs. And as we pretty much figured, that's going to be the way that the Wadsworth offense is going to go. So here's Wadsworth starting out 1st and 10 to start the second quarter on their own 26-yard line.
Once again, it's Stone and Tracomie in the backfield. Handoff is to Tracomie. He gets it to the 31. You had Vujis and Copeland split out. Vujis is going to run off the field and probably receive the play call from the coaches.
Nothing very fancy, off tackle. A couple of good moves, but Tracomie just couldn't break the last one. Well, Wadsworth is in a position where they got 3 good wide receivers for 2 good wide receiver spots and 3 good running backs for 2 running back spots, and that's why you see the shuffling into the wide receivers and the running backs.
Pitch to Joe Tracomie, and boy, he is squirt right through the line there and took it to the Barberton or the Wadsworth 40.
I'm starting to get impressed with Tracomie. And the line is doing a good job opening the holes, but he's got some pretty nice moves once he gets through to gain those extra yards.
Well, Tracomie's he's a trackster for Wadsworth, and he's got those real quick feet to where he can just pump the legs and keep the defenders away from bringing him down. 1st and 10, ball on the 40 for the Grizzlies. The fake to Tracomie, gets a nice block. Hoover finds Vujis right down the sideline, and Vujis stepped out of bounds.
There's a penalty flag, and the referees are going to say that Hoover was over the line of scrimmage when he threw the ball.
I thought it looked like that when the play initially happened.
Well, Wadsworth runs Hoover on rollouts, and what it does is it always gives them the option to have him run the ball. But in that case, he was running forward and still looking downfield for a receiver and kind of lost track of where he was. So they'll be penalized. This is a loss of down penalty. I think it's 5 yards and loss of downs, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to bring up a 2nd and 15.
Well, what we've seen from the running game looks good so far, and I believe that's due to the strength of their line. They only lost 1 guard from the offensive line, and that was Ryan Samoski.
Ryan Finn played some offense, too. But you're right.
And the passing game opens the run, too. Barberton looking pass, Wadsworth runs. And this time, that's Matt Ford, the speedy little guy, runs right through the middle, takes it to the 48.
Well, you touched on this, and it is true. A good passing game is going to make your running game a lot more effective, and conversely, a good running game is going to make your passing game more effective. Everybody's thinking pass, 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 and then a quick hitter up the middle, a little draw play. There's nothing there. So that's going to bring up a 3rd down and 4. This is going to be an interesting car. What do you do on 3rd and 4? Do you run? Do you pass?
They need to get the ball to midfield for a first down. Hoover's gonna roll, has plenty of room. Long pass downfield to Brink. In and out of his hands, off his chest. Right at the numbers, and Chris Brink knows it. And Wadsworth is gonna have to punt.
What's that old saying? Got hit in a bad spot. So this is going to be Wadsworth's first punt of the night. Punter for Wadsworth is Justin Blackburn.
Number 5. It's a high punt, little wobbly. Hits at about the 29. Wadsworth pounces on it at the 30.
Number 5,
and that's where Barberton will take over.
Blackburn is just a sophomore. One thing that we forgot to mention when they lost David Lance to graduation last year, they also lost their punter. So that was a 28-yard punt, no return. And Barberton takes over first and 10 on their 30-yard line.
Lance, nothing spectacular as a punter, but he got the job done and was very consistent in not giving the other team great field position.
Barberton's calling a timeout here. So we have a little bit of time. Let's take a look at, we were talking about the Suburban League, who some of the other teams are playing tonight. And next week, Wadsworth plays Cuyahoga Falls. They're playing Elyria tonight, and it's going to be a toss-up there. Medina's playing Firestone. Even though Medina doesn't have the team last year, you could probably root for bet on Medina to win that one. A real good game, Revere is playing Avon Lake. And Avon Lake is a very good team, but Revere is a very, very good team. That's one to look at. Green is playing at Manchester. Norton at Coventry. Talmadge plays Kenmore. Highland plays Cleveland Lincoln West. Cloverleaf has an off date. Evidently, they couldn't get anybody to fill that first schedule on the game.
Actually,
Copley is playing East. So you've got some other information there?
Cloverleaf is at Warren Holland.
Oh, they're at Warren Holland. Okay, that must have been a very late scheduled game. I was just thinking about kicking around. There's a 50-50 chance there are an odd number of high school football teams in the state. And that means that every week, one team isn't going to play. I thought maybe this was Cloverleaf's week. Like there are like 710 high schools in Ohio. Well, if there were only 709, that would mean every week somebody wouldn't play.
First and 10, ball on the 31 for Barberton. Scannick, short drop back, pass up.
Flag down.
Out of bounds. The closest person to that pass was Wadsworth cornerback Pat McCarthy.
Where that flag is, it looks like it's going to be offensive holding. And let's see, holding on Barberton. And I think Wadsworth will take that penalty. It was kind of a funny place to call holding. It was like almost downfield. It wasn't like the quarterback was being threatened or anything else like that. But they did call the holding call, and they're stepping it off back against the Magic.
Head coach Tim Flossie on the sidelines looking in amazement at his players on that call. This is Flossie's 3rd year at Barberton. And he's been a high school coach since 1971. He's the former Bookville coach.
Yeah, when you think Tim Flossie is associated with Bookville High School, all those fine Bookville teams that made pretty much a career of going to the playoffs year in and year out.
He coached at Central Howard also. And he's an outstanding coach. He's won 2 state Division II titles, and he's finished as the runner-up 2 more times. Laskanik rolling way out, needs some help. He's being run down by some Wadsworth defenders. He's finally brought down by linebacker Jake Wilhite.
Well, if you've ever heard the term coverage sack, that was a coverage sack because he had all day to throw the ball. The Wadsworth pressure was there, but it wasn't intense pressure. But when you look downfield, there was just nothing there. The Wadsworth defensive backs were covering very well. So far, Barberton's had 3 penalties, but they've been for 60 yards, so the penalties have been big. Got 1 turnover also, and Wadsworth is yet to make a serious mistake. Quarterback for Barberton has 27 yards rushing so far, but he lost 5 on that one. So that brings up a 2nd and 15 for Barberton.
Short pass over to Darrell Owens. He gains about 3 yards on that.
I think they're going to give him 6. That's going to bring up a 3rd down and 9. 3rd and 8. But those are the kind that Wadsworth would give you on a situation like that. One thing that Barberton has not done, they haven't thrown the ball to Harris yet tonight, I don't think, have they? And that's something to look for perhaps in a play like this, some kind of a swing pass to Harris.
It's 3rd and 7. Barberton with the ball on their own 33. Brink almost gets the sack. And then Dietrich almost gets it. And
I think they're going to call a tripping penalty on Wadsworth, if I'm not mistaken. That was kind of strange. He was trying to get away from the Wadsworth defender and actually tripped over the defender. The run lost 3 yards, but let's see what the call is going to be. If that's a tripping penalty, that's going to be a first down for Barberton. And that's what they call it, tripping. That's an awful rough call. I think you could see that that might be correct, but it certainly wasn't intentional. They just got their feet tangled up, and so there's a big break for Barberton. Gives them a 1st and 10 on the 46-yard line.
Doug Perigo called for that play, but you know, that was definitely not intentional.
No.
Accidental.
No. Usually when you think of tripping, you think about a lineman coming into the line of scrimmage and a defender laying on his back, sticking his leg out to trip him. It was nothing like that. Their legs just got tangled up.
The run by Darrell Welch gets Barberton really not much further downfield. They're at about almost midfield now.
About a 4-yard pickup. We've got 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the second quarter.
Number 32, Jake Wilhite, and number 19, Greg Dent.
The fullback has 10 yards of rushes so far. Again, keeping with the idea that Harris is going to be the big runner. They're calling 2nd and 7, so we will too.
Scannick is brought down behind the line by Jeff Hanna.
Hanna did a good job of getting in there and breaking up the play. It looked to be an option run to the left, but he never got a chance to get anything organized because Hanna was there.
The line of scrimmage by number 71, Jeff Dietrich.
I'm sorry, it was Dietrich on the play.
Dietrich and Hanna.
Also on the stop.
Dietrich, defensive tackle senior.
Play brings up 3rd down for the Magic.
3rd and 7.
6 minutes, 30 seconds remaining here in the first half.
A receiver on each side of the line for the Magic. Scannick, straight drop back. Short pass over the line to Welch. And he barrels his way across the 40 of the Grizzlies to about the 37.
Darrell Welch. As the scanning snap is complete, and Welch picks up a Barberton touchdown. On the stop is number 22, Pat McCarthy.
That was a nice play, well designed. 3 passes for 28 yards for the Barberton quarterback, just a little flip pass. And by this time, the wide receivers had cleared out all the Wadsworth backs, and the receiver has a long way to run before anybody with the white jersey comes into the picture. So it's going to be 1st and 10 and 38, and from what we've seen in the past, Barberton already is in 4-down territory here.
Darren Harris gets the pitch this time. And he's brought down by Greg Dent of the Grizzlies at the 35.
Well, that's the one thing Wadsworth's done. They managed to contain Harris pretty good. He's getting his yards, but he's not getting the big plays. One exception, of course. But in general, I think the coaches would have to be happy with the way that Harris is being stopped, even though he did have the one long run for the touchdown. Harris right now has 9 carries, 70 yards. This will be the 10th play of the drive coming up for Barberton, aided by that big penalty against Wadsworth. Here comes a reverse, fake
reverse. And he fumbles the ball out of bounds. Darren Harris with the fake reverse gets around the end, out of the reach of Ian Formaz, but then he lost the handle on the ball. That's twice he's done that.
So enough for the first down, but nobody touches Harris. He seems like he has the ball just fine right here. He's got it tucked away. He makes his cut up field. But now watch, nobody around, and the ball just squirts loose.
Well,
and it was fortunate it did.
you know why it's squirt loose? Because he wasn't listening to the coaches in practice when they said, use both arms to hold on to that ball, and you won't drop it.
On the fumble out of bounds, all that happens is Barberton keeps the ball at the point where it went out of bounds. But the fumble
snap
on the
is fumbled, and Laskanik has to jump on top of it. Zach Laskanik couldn't quite get a hold of the snap.
That's the third fumble for Barberton. They've only lost one of them, but lost a yard on the play. It's going to bring up 2nd and 11 on the Wadsworth 21. We've got about 4 minutes and 45 seconds to play in the second quarter.
Coach Dennison in his 5th year with the Wadsworth Grizzlies. His career record here at Wadsworth, 27 wins, 14 losses. Skanik drops straight back. Finds an open receiver in Darrell Owens.
Pass is complete to number 21, Darrell Owens. On the stop for Wadsworth is
Pat McCarthy was playing just a little too far off on that play. But he caught the ball on his knees, couldn't run anywhere with it. So that's going to bring up a 3rd down and about 3 yards to go. So here are 2 big plays for the Grizzlies. Are they going to go into the halftime leading, or are they going to go in like tied?
3rd down and 3 for the Magics.
Magic's inside the red zone. Let's see what the Grizzly defense can do here. Give to Harris. Tries to squirm for a few extra yards through the middle of the line.
I don't think he got the 1st down. It's very close. The Wadsworth players, of course, are indicating that he didn't. We haven't had a measurement yet tonight. This might be our first measurement. Up there saying it's 4th and 1. So here's the first really critical play of the ball game. 4th down and 1. No, they are calling for a measurement now.
Well, we can look for the ball to be handed to Harris on this play, and he's going to hope his line can push him across that 1st down marker.
Well, you say you look for the ball to go to Harris, but this is the play that they ran where everybody was looking for Harris, and the quarterback, you know, went outside rather than inside, and away they went. So
Well,
I was wrong about
down.
that. Yeah, I was wrong. It is a 1st down, so it's going to be 1st and 10 Barberton on about the 13-yard line. The 12th play of the drive, 11 carries, 83 yards for Harris. At 3 minutes and 25 seconds to play in the second quarter.
It's Harris again in the pile.
Barberton's managed to pick up a total of 8 first downs.
Slowly but surely creeping closer to the Wadsworth goal line.
And another thing about this drive, which is now going into its 13th play, is they're taking a lot of time off the clock. And Wadsworth, if they get the ball back either by Barberton scoring or if Wadsworth stops Barberton, it's not going to have much time left to do anything with it. We're down to 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go.
It's 2nd and 8 for Barberton. I formation with Harris and the fullback Welch. Laskanik fakes. He's deep in behind the line, and he's run out of bounds by Matt Delnos.
Delnos was totally unfooled by that play. It was a fake, and then the quarterback was rolling to the right. Watch the fake here, and then the quarterback will come this way. Delnos didn't buy it for a second. He's right in there on the play. The quarterback had no chance to do anything. Delnos just pushed him out of bounds. That was quite a big loss, and it's going to bring up a 3rd down and about 19 or 20 yards to go.
A few players out and few in for Barberton. See what they conjure up here.
They're calling it 3rd and 17, and they're got a lot fewer options on 3rd and 17 than you do on 3rd and 2.
4 receivers for Barberton. 3 to the left, 1 to the right, and
They're just
it's called
calling that
incomplete.
That ball was clearly forward. And even though the receiver picked it up on the first bounce and tried to run with it, that was not one of those lateral situations. That was an incomplete pass. So, comes a 4th and 17, and the ball's on the Wadsworth 20. Going to see if Barberton has a kicker or not, because this would be an obvious place to try a field goal. The field goal would be about 35 yards, which is makeable for most good high school kickers. Coach is talking it over.
So Barberton runs the naked boot, and the quarterback gets pushed out of bounds. They try to trip the Grizzlies up. Doesn't work.
They're going for it on
fourth and
down.
17.
It's the second time they've gone for it on fourth down. The first time they made it.
Harris is the lone back. A man in motion. Flag in the air.
Delay a game against Barberton, and that's going to push them back 5 yards further and make it a fourth down and 22.
Are they going to pooch it here, or?
Well, I think if they were going to go for it fourth and 17, they're going to go for it fourth and 22. But they're going to call a timeout and talk it over.
They have a nice wireless microphone hooked up to the referee down there, so you can hear his calls over the PA. We ought to hook him up into our system, and you can hear the calls right over the air.
Isn't technology amazing?
Beautiful.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, and I'd watch football games with my dad. We had a black and white TV, and the only station we could get was Cleveland, which was about 70 miles from where I lived. And all you see was this white and gray field of snow with little teeny stick figures running around on it, and they called it football. It's just amazing how far technology has come. The fact that we can bring you people games like this with all the stuff that we have is almost unbelievable.
Speaking of bringing you the games, on WCTV's Channel 16, these are the times the games will air this year. Of course, when we and or I should say the crew and I get back to the station with the tape of the game, we will play it back. So it'll be approximately around 11:30 every Friday evening. Then on Saturdays, the game will air at 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. And on Mondays, it will also air at 9 a.m.
Here we go, fourth down and 22.
Scannick, of course, will pass. He's being run down by Dietrich.
I don't think he made it.
Pass was complete to Darrell Owens.
The quarterback going back. A lot of pressure on the quarterback, but he doesn't manage to lead the pressure just enough to get the ball off. But the Wadsworth safeties do an outstanding job of coming up and making the tackle.
Matt Four, I'm telling you, is having a great game so far.
And they said the Wadsworth did stop, so Wadsworth takes over on downs. Interestingly enough, Barberton ran almost 4 minutes and 50 seconds off the clock on that drive, which of course comes up empty. So Wadsworth has the ball now, first and 10 on their own 5-yard line, and 2:19 to go. What are you going to do? You're going to go for the score or just run it up the middle?
Yeah, they tried to run it up the middle, and Tricome couldn't take it too far.
If I'm not,
I'm sorry, it's Matt Four now in a tailback.
If I'm not mistaken, Barberton only has one timeout, so Wadsworth can run the clock down pretty far just by running the ball. If they get a first down or two, they won't even have to punt it.
Maybe part of that last series for Barberton. Maybe their strategy was to run some of the clock off, noticing they were going to have some troubles with Wadsworth's powerful offense. They didn't want them to get too far ahead before the half. And Matt Four finds some awesome running room. He has one man to beat, and he's brought out of bounds just shy of the 40. Matt Four using his speed to quickly break out of the play and away from all the defenders.
Well, that might change the Wadsworth coach's thinking. Good breaking a tackle at the line of scrimmage. Okay, we lost image there for a minute.
I went to check the connections outside the window here, and they were fine, so.
Well, what you missed was the end of the run by Four on the videotape replay, and then Wadsworth ran one play that lost 5 yards. So what we have now is we're going to have a second down and 14 to go for Wadsworth. The ball is on the 35-yard line of Barberton with a minute and 26 to play.
4 yards on the play, brings up second down and 14 for the Grizzlies.
We have a timeout here on the field. Injured player, if Andy, you could pan over to the 40-yard line. He's being helped up now, and will be all right. And he's going to come off the field. Number 6, R.J. Swain, the cornerback for the Magics, limping off.
It looks like his right leg. It could just be a muscle cramp. It is very hot and humid here. Okay, they're taking him. It's a muscle cramp. He's got a cramped calf muscle. You can tell by the way the trainers are working on him. With the weather being this hot and humid, and again, first day of game of the year, I'm surprised we haven't seen more people come off of them. 2nd and 14, minute 26 to go for Wadsworth.
Hoover dropping back, looking, across the middle, finds Brink, or I'm sorry, that's Adam Copeland. Copeland just runs the slant to the middle of the field, gets it into Barberton territory.
Hoover's having all time to throw back there. Barberton isn't getting any pressure on him at all. One thing in his favor is Hoover gets rid of the ball very quickly, so he doesn't need an awful lot of time. But between the rollouts, where you're rolling away from the pressure, and the good line play by the Wadsworth offensive line, he's had plenty of time to get rid of the ball.
Well, that's the great offensive line of Wadsworth. Only lost one starter from a year ago.
Wadsworth called a timeout here with a minute 20 seconds to go, and the ball on the 48-yard line of Barberton. They had 3 timeouts, and might as well use it so we can just talk things over and see what's happening.
Well, while we have time, I'll mention to you about our coaches show that we'll have on WCTV. It's called Grizzly Gridiron. That'll air first on Mondays at 9 p.m. It'll also be on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. That's a weekly highlight show that I will host along with Coach Greg Dennison, and we will have, the coach will bring 2 or 3 guest players to be on the show every week. Hoover scrambling, has plenty of room to run, stops and throws it down to Copeland. And the pass is just out of the reach of Adam Copeland, and why Hoover didn't run with it himself to get the first down, I don't know, but...
And the Barberton fans all are saying that Hoover was beyond the line of scrimmage again when he threw the ball, and now the flag comes out. He was. I didn't see a flag, but it was pretty obvious. He was about a yard or 2 downfield before he threw the ball. And that's something that Hoover's going to have to work on. I mean, he had a wide open field in front of him. He had maybe 15 yards that he could have picked up, but didn't look to see he was in front of the line of scrimmage. So that's the second time he's done that tonight. It's going to be a 5-yard penalty and loss of down, so it's going to bring up 2nd and 15 for Wadsworth on their own 47. A minute and 12 to go.
Number 2, Mike Whitman, and number 3, Quentin Walton in coverage.
Ben Osterlund runs the play into the huddle for the Wadsworth Grizzlies as Ben Vujis takes a breather.
I'll tell you, with the Wadsworth offense playing the way they are in a situation like that, 5 yards doesn't mean an awful lot.
You have Copeland at the top of your screen, and Osterlund is out of your sight on the bottom. Across the middle to Brink. He makes a spectacular catch and is brought down at the 22 by Evan Sabaticki.
I've talked to you, well, Wadsworth immediately calls a timeout. I talked before about the speed of Chris Brink. Now watch how far downfield he is. From his tight end position, he's as deep as the wide out, and he's also behind the safety. He fumbled a little bit when he caught the ball. I think it was one of those situations where he was making sure that he had it. If it hadn't been for that little stumble, he'd have probably scored. That was a 29-yard pass to Brink.
Well, Brink is definitely the big playmaker on this offense. You've got Copeland, who can consistently make some good receptions in a ball game. Not much of a big play breaker, though, like Chris Brink, the senior tight end.
Well, at this point, Hoover is 6 for 8 for 96 yards. So he's having, I guess, what you call an average Hoover night.
1:06 remaining in the first half. Wadsworth threatening to go up by 2 touchdowns here.
And that's the 7th first down for Wadsworth.
I formation for the Grizzlies. They're going to pass again. Hoover looking. Finds Brink again at the 10 and inside the 10.
59 seconds to go. Wadsworth's going to line up quickly. Don't be surprised if Hoover just spikes the ball here to stop the clock, because they only have one more first down.
Number 6,
Here's the play. Hoover rolls right.
For the Magic.
And actually, Brink was pretty well covered this time. He makes a good catch into some
Pass
traffic.
takes the ball to the 8-yard line. It'll be first and goal, Wadsworth.
First and goal, Wadsworth on the 8, 54 seconds to go.
Hoover going to roll to his left this time. Still looking. And does he get out of bounds?
They say no.
Referee signals for the clock to continue. It's going to be a timeout called by the Grizzlies wisely because there's only 37 seconds left.
Well, Hoover rolled left this time and was looking downfield, but then when he saw his receivers are covered, he decided to run to the sideline and stop the clock by getting out of bounds. He was tackled right on the sideline. It was pretty much a toss-up whether they were going to call him out or not, but the refs called him inbounds, which I think is the right call. And that forces Wadsworth to take their final timeout. Hoover lost a yard on the play, so it's going to bring up 2nd and 9 with 37 seconds to go.
Coach Dennison out giving a pep talk to his huddle.
First half.
Okay, well, you missed one play there. And the play you missed, Hoover tried to throw an incomplete pass. The ball slid out of Hoover's hands.
Hoover to Brink in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown Wadsworth. Second touchdown of the night between Hoover and Chris Brink. And
Hoover came off the side end, ran a little bit of a loop pattern, was isolated with the safety, and he's so big that all Hoover had to do was drop the ball over the safety right into Brink's hand. Again, that wasn't a pass as much as it was a long handoff.
Number 11, Jeff Hanna to
and
hold.
So Wadsworth goes up 20-7. And with this Wadsworth team, they don't need much time to score.
We apologize for the technical glitches here. We'll try to rectify that. Here at halftime, Galpert's kick is good. And the Grizzlies lead by 2 touchdowns, 21-7, with 27 seconds left in the first half.
Well, it's our first game of the year, too, so we're entitled to make a few penalties and have a couple of turnovers.
Right, this is our scrimmage, and this is Wadsworth's second scrimmage, although this game counts.
I think we ought to take a minute, John, and give some praise to the Wadsworth offensive line who have given Hoover so much time.
And while we have this timeout, we can take a look at the 1999 football schedule for the Wadsworth Grizzlies. Wadsworth, of course, will play 3 non-league games tonight here at Barberton. Next week at home, hopefully with a new press box, Larry. Don't know what the story is on that.
Well, I think you told me the press box is there. The question is whether it's going to be above the stadium or behind it right now.
Yeah. So there you see the Wadsworth Grizzlies schedule for this season. WCTV will be present at all those games and be bringing them to you via tape delay on Channel 16.
Well, you want to put a couple stars there. Do it by the Revere game and the Copley game, the 17th of September and then the last game in October. And here's Galpert kicking off, squib kick.
He did that a lot last season, if you recall. Picked up by one of the up men who's just going to, Evan Sabaticki is just going to barrel down and take it to about the 34 of Barberton. That took a few seconds off the clock.
I doubt if Barberton's going to try anything here. They'll probably just have the quarterback step back and kneel down. But on the other hand, if a person like Harris who can bust a big one at any time, they might try something.
34-yard line, first down and 10 at Barberton. 24 seconds remaining in the first half.
We've got 2 wide receivers split to the bottom of the scene, and another one split to the top.
Skanik looking left, looking right, finds Darrell Owens, and of course in high school football, when you fall to the ground, you're down.
Barberton takes their last time out with 16 seconds to go. There wasn't much pressure because Wadsworth is playing back. They'll give him the stuff underneath, but not give him the long pass. And you can see the receiver was on the ground when he caught the ball.
Remember the squib kicks from last year, Larry. Galpert did that quite a bit. And a couple of times it worked out in their favor because the opposing team would have trouble getting a handle on the ball. And it caused a couple turnovers for the Grizzlies.
I really don't understand why high school teams don't do that more often. If you get a good kick away, a lot of times even a good kick is not particularly deep in high school football. And the coverage isn't all that fast getting back there. The squib kick, it makes a lot of things happen, almost like a long onside kick. because you're going to get the ball in the hands of somebody who's not looking for it, he's not familiar with handling kickoffs.
If you need a copy of that schedule we just put up, and you have a PC at your hands, there you see the address. You can receive a copy of the Wadsworth Grizzly football schedule. Long pass down the sideline, just out of the reach of Wadsworth Jeff Hanna, who's intended for R.J. Swain of Barberton.
Well, Hanna made the decision to go after the ball rather than cover deep, and it worked out pretty well. It got a little scary down there if that ball had been caught.
Bring up 3rd down for Barberton.
Barberton quarterback is 6 for 8, 63 yards, and has 19 yards rushing. So for a sophomore quarterback, that's a pretty good showing on his first night out.
3rd and 3, ball on the 47, 11 seconds to go. Seems like a long first half here, Larry.
Well, I'm surprised that Barberton is going for it with the sophomore quarterback, but they're throwing the ball on every play, and now here's a throw and a
didn't
pitch
fool the
back
Grizzlies at all. Harris.
They fumbled the ball out of bounds.
That's the
I don't
third
think they're
time.
even call it a fumble.
3rd time Harris has fumbled.
I'm really surprised at this. I thought they would just sit on the ball after that. Not having a quarterback that can throw the ball long, not having but one timeout, but give them credit, there's a little razzle-dazzle play, which would have worked, except nobody was covering the receiver. Everybody was way back, so it wasn't like they were collapsing on the receiver when he pitched the ball. They were just all hanging back, waiting for it to develop, and saying, again, we'll give you 10 yards, we'll give you 15 yards, we're just not going to give you 40.
This will be the last play of the first half, and barring a spectacular catastrophe, Wadsworth will go in the locker room leading 21-7. Barberton leads them, get a player off the field, and they've got too many on the field. They had 12 players on the field, I believe.
They're calling delay a game, but that delay a game can also be 12 players on the field. There are a lot of things that are delay a game. So kicking a kickoff out of bounds is delay a game, for example. So they had too many wide receivers over here on this side. One of them didn't get off the field, and the Barberton coach is now talking to him. That's the 4th penalty for Barberton, and 65 yards in penalties.
You see that beautiful score box there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, created by graphic wizard Ken Buck. Wadsworth High School 21, Barberton High School 7. The little 2 there indicates the quarter we are presently in, the 2nd.
And another penalty. They're marching off against Barberton. It's going to be delay a game. I think, yep, delay a game against Barberton. So these last 24 seconds since the kickoff, it seems to be taking forever.
Out of the yardage, takes the ball back to the 34-yard line.
Wadsworth safeties are playing 30 yards off the line of scrimmage and dropping back with the snap.
Across the middle, the pass is intercepted. Greg Dent with the interception. Stops, runs
Beautiful
to the middle.
interception, 14-yard return. Of course, Wadsworth is laying back waiting for that. And that's the trouble with trying something with that with a pretty much untested quarterback.
So at the end of the first half, the Wadsworth Grizzlies score 3 times on pass plays, and they lead it 21-7. We'll be back with some stats and the second half right after this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Larry, the Wadsworth defense did a pretty good job there in the first half. Matt Four among the players having a great game tonight, and I believe you have some first half offensive stats.
I've got the stats here. We'll start out for Wadsworth. The big story with Cleveland, of course, was 7 of 11 for 117 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wadsworth didn't have much in terms of rushing. Four had 2 carries for 43 yards, one a big one that he busted. I think it was a 4th and short that he gained a lot of yards. Stracombe carried the ball 6 times for 30 yards. Hoover, I don't have the stats for how many yards he ran, but he ran for 2. Wadsworth had 9 first downs, and they were penalized 4 times for 30 yards. As far as Barberton was concerned, they had 8 first downs. Their big gun, the running back, Poochie Harris, 12 carries for 85 yards. And they had a couple of big stats as far as Barberton is concerned. They had 5 penalties for a total of 70 yards and fumbled the ball 4 times, one of which was lost, and that was a big one because it occurred on about the 10-yard line. Wadsworth went in to score. As far as the scoring is concerned, Barberton scored first, 8:22. 39-yard rush by Harris, and the extra point was good. Then Wadsworth scored the next 3 touchdowns, a 15-yard pass from Hoover to Osterlund. Galpert got the PAT. 12-yard pass to Brink and a 9-yard pass to Brink. Both of those passes to Brink were almost like long handoffs. Wadsworth won the toss, elected to defer, so they'll be receiving here in the second half.
Keith Brown kicks it off for the Magics, end-over-end kick. Fielded by Tricome. He's going to run up the gut. Gets some good blocking and some running room. Has the kicker to beat, knocks him on his butt, and what a run by Tricome into Barberton territory. He's finally brought down by number 2, Mike Witham. And there's a Barberton player hurt, and it is the kicker who I mentioned, Tricome, knocked on his backside.
Well, once again, Wadsworth had an excellent offensive wall right there. And when Tricome broke through there, just like the first time, he only had the kicker to beat, and down goes the kicker, and he managed to struggle on for another 15 yards after that. So that was a total run back of 50 yards, and Wadsworth just starts the game in excellent position. They got the ball on the 39-yard line. Our statistician, John Gramuglia, said actually that's a 51-yard run back, but it'd be too bad if their kicker was hurt, and they could use him later on in the game.
See, we're going to get a close-up here of the injury, I think. There it is. Keith Brown, the senior kicker for the Magics, was pretty much floored by Tricome.
Well, I've got a stat here that Wadsworth has run back 2 kickoffs, one after the Barberton touchdown, and here to start the third quarter. And the 2 run backs account for 78 total yards. And more than the running back, Tricome, I give credit to that wall, the Wadsworth wall. They just formed that wall right at the point of contact, and Barberton doesn't seem to be able to solve that.
There's Brown. He's getting up. Might have just got the wind knocked out of him. Right before we came back on for the second half, Larry, you were talking about Barberton not being a team that can really come back from a huge deficit with the sophomore quarterback.
Well, we started the game out saying everybody knew what Wadsworth was going to do. They're going to pass the ball. Barberton's going to win. They got to stop the pass. Everybody knew what Barberton was going to do. They're going to run the ball. If we're going to win the game, we're going to have to stop the run. And except for that 1 yard where Harris managed to bust outside when the defense was playing a little too tight inside, we have stopped, or Wadsworth has stopped Barberton pretty well, but Barberton has not managed to stop the Wadsworth passing game. When you rely on a ground game, it's awful difficult to come back from a big deficit. Like that one drive that Barberton had where they held the ball 6 minutes and 40 seconds and didn't score. If Wadsworth puts one on the board here, it's going to be very difficult for Barberton to come back.
High formation for the Grizzlies. A Barberton player jumps off. Nice job by the Wadsworth line.
I was also thinking during the halftime that the Wadsworth offense looks like this was like 1 week after last year's Copley game. They're all there, they're all together, they're all on the same page. They look really good. On the other hand, the Barberton offense with their new starting quarterback just doesn't seem to be meshing yet. Looks like they're going to have a couple games before they really get in sync, and that works much to Wadsworth's favor.
And the give was to Matt 4, and he got nowhere. As number 85, who is not on my roster.
Not only did he get nowhere, he got 3 yards less than nowhere, so it's going to bring up the 2nd down and 8.
Well, it was Darrell Welch and Ivan Young, and a young man by the name of Miller who brought 4 down. Hoover rolls out, finds Brink. Brink looks it into the hands and gets close to a first down, maybe 2 or 3 yards shy.
That's only about the 2nd time tonight that I can remember Barberton putting any pressure on Hoover. He had to get rid of the ball a little bit sooner than he wanted to. Brink was coming across the middle. Watch this. You'll see the pressure coming right there, and Brink was coming across the middle, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he was going to then break to the sidelines and go deep. He's got the speed to do it. They did pick up 7 yards, brings up a 3rd and 1, and Wadsworth has indicated before, they're in 4-down territory here.
And off to 4. Again, he's crunched behind the line by number 58, Andy Lipovsky.
Number 2 for the ball carrier.
Over the years that we've been doing this, I've made the point that a mark of good coaching is how you come out in the second half. When you're in there with the kids, can you make the adjustments? And you know Flossie is a tremendous coach. Look what he did at Bookdale. And on a couple of those running plays, it looks like they've spotted something or they're doing something different. The middle is not open anymore. 4th down and 2, and no surprise, Wadsworth is going to go for it. It's the second 4th down they've gone for tonight.
Jake McIlvain now in at fullback for the Grizzlies. And 4 finds a little more running room this time.
It's going to depend on the spot. The Wadsworth players are saying they got it.
Number 2 back for the ball
And the
carrier.
referees agree.
Tripped up by number 20.
Barberton fans don't. Notice they went a little wider this time, not right up the middle. And actually a good defensive play by Barberton. The referees have moved the ball back a bit. Now they're calling timeout for a measurement. We haven't had many measurements, and I think this is only the second one. And this is a big one. And Wadsworth has the first down by about a quarter of the length of the football.
First down, Wadsworth.
And we can put the spotlight on the Wadsworth offensive line on that play. Pushing the Barberton defense back far enough just to get the first down. Evan Gosser, Matt Delnos, Miracle, Chris Brink, Ian Formaz doing a great job tonight. Pass intended for Chris Brink over the middle, and it was batted down by the Barberton line.
What happened on that play is the left side linebacker for Barberton was running across the middle, looked up and saw the one-step drop and just put his hand up and swatted the ball away. It was lucky it wasn't intercepted on the rebound, if you will, because the ball was batted kind of up in the air towards a couple of Barberton players.
I remember that quick pop pass from last season worked very effectively quite a few times between Hoover and Brink.
Well, that linebacker was not covering Brink. He just happened to get in the way, or it would have been a good play.
4 finds a hole this time, gets it to the 25, and he cut back to the middle and may have found some more yardage on the outside.
I think 4 actually slips when he goes through the line of scrimmage. If you notice right there, he tries to make his cut and slip just a little bit. If he could have popped it to the outside, he'd have gained a few more yards. But this brings up a 3rd down and about 7 yards to go for Wadsworth.
Copeland and Osterland, the wideouts. Now Osterland in motion. Hoover rolling to his left. Now back to the middle of the field. He's going to keep it himself. And he scrambles to about the 17-yard line.
I think that's a first down.
Hoover keeping the ball. Got to find an open receiver, and he'll bring it upfield for a...
And I think with the maturity now of Hoover, Larry, last year he was a little hesitant to run the ball.
A good job here by 4 blocking. He's the one, if you notice, he's getting in the way of the backer that's coming in, and that allowed Hoover to cut back and just make the first down. He puts his head down right there at the line of scrimmage, and he just dives forward.
Jake McIlvain still in at fullback. Brink in motion now. Lines up at the other end of the line. And 4 rumbles for a few yards just past the line of scrimmage. 8 minutes left in the 3rd period.
One of the things that makes Hoover such an appealing college prospect is his size. He's variously listed as 6'3", 6'4", and over 200 pounds. So when he gets up ahead of steam, I don't think he's all that quick off the start as a runner. When he gets up ahead of steam, he can run the ball, and he's tough to bring down. So now Wadsworth, after that, they call no gain. It's going to be a 2nd down and about 10.
Short drop back. Over the shoulder pass is in and out of the hands of Ben Vugis. He was in front of his defender, but the defender did a nice job turning around at the last minute to see the ball coming in and knock it out of Bujis' hands.
This is a real good defensive job by number 7. Right there, the defender's fooled, but he turns around just in the nick of time, gets his arm in there, and breaks everything up. So that's going to bring up a 3rd down and 10 yards to go on about the 18-yard line. Jake McElvain in the backfield again for Wadsworth.
Tricomie went into the slot, pass over the middle to Copeland, and he scrambles in for another Wadsworth touchdown. That's 4 touchdown passes tonight for Mike Hoover.
Hoover just picked his Barberton defense apart. I mean, when Copeland's lined up at the top of your screen, when he comes across the middle, he is just wide open, and Hoover does an outstanding job laying the ball right on the numbers. It's almost too easy. Great play, great route by Copeland.
Galpert to attempt his 4th extra point, and 4 in a row are good. So with 7:27 left in the 3rd, it's 28-7 Grizzlies.
What we talked about at the start of the 2nd half now becomes even more critical for Barberton. They're going to have a tough time playing catch up, and now they're down 3 touchdowns. Hoover's numbers are looking very impressive. 9 for 13, 141 yards, and most importantly, 4 TDs. And 2 of them to Brink, 1 to Copeland, and Osterman caught the other one.
So you have 3 different players receiving those 4 touchdowns. So many weapons here on the Wadsworth offense for Mike Hoover to go to.
Another interesting point. They only went 35 yards after that excellent kickoff return, but they took 4.5 minutes off the clock. And once again, Barberton's going to have to do a lot of playing catch up, don't have an awful lot of time to do it. Those are the kind of drives, if you will, that Wadsworth would like to have. So here goes Galpert to kick off again. Let's see if he kicks a squib kick, as he has been a couple times and did a lot last year.
Tricomie, Robertson, McElvain, Josh Svensson, Jake Wilhite, all on one side of the kicker. On special teams, kick bounces at the 25, and the Barberton player Harris has to pick it up, and he gets pushed out of bounds.
That was a very effective, strange kick. It was almost like a shank 9-iron where it went up in the air, didn't go out of bounds, and just laid there wiggling around. And by the time the Barberton defenders got to pick, the Barberton receiver got to pick it up, Wadsworth defenders there pushed him out of bounds on the 20-yard line. They're marking it on the 21. So Barberton's going to take over there, 1st and 10 on their own 21-yard line. They've done a good job of keeping the ball away from Harris, who's also their kickoff returner. He actually fielded the ball, but there was nowhere for him to go.
Wilhite, Karowski, Dent, the linebackers on defense. Harris around the right. Gains about 5 yards.
You watch Harris run, and you can see why he's so highly regarded and has so many yards. He has an awful lot of good moves, and he runs with good power. The problem is Wadsworth is just sitting back and waiting for him, and nobody's going to gain yards when everybody on the team is keying on him.
2nd and 4 for Barberton. Ball on their own 26. Hand off again to Harris. Barrels across the 1st down marker. Zach Laskanik coming over to the sideline to talk to Coach Flossie.
Actually, they're marking it about a yard short, so it's going to bring up 3rd and 1. And Harris now has about 98 yards, so he's truly been the workhorse for Barberton. But the important thing as far as Wadsworth is concerned, except for the big one, he hasn't busted anything. He's getting his 3-4 yards to carry, but he can't pick up the big one.
Quick handoff to Harris, or I'm sorry, the fullback.
And the official signaling 1st down.
And Barberton gets the 1st down there. And the fullback is Darrell Welch, 6'2" senior for the Magics.
Barberton got the 1st down, but it took them 2 minutes just to get that first down, and I don't think they've got that kind of time.
Short drop back, quick pass, almost intercepted by McCarthy. And an incomplete pass. You can see from up here, McCarthy's eyes just get real wide.
Well, I think what happened on that, the quarterback zigs and the receiver zags. Quarterback out here throws the ball to the wrong side. If you notice, the receiver is breaking towards the sideline. The pass was thrown more to the middle. And McCarthy just playing back there, just waiting for the ball, only it just bounced off his shoulder pad. The receiver's down for Barberton. That looks like a muscle cramp, the way they're working on his muscle.
Well, that's the same player that was down in the first half, R.J. Swain. He had to be brought over the sidelines at that point, and he's down again.
First game of the year, it's a very hot and humid night. You would expect this kind of stuff. Over the years, one thing that I've noticed about Wadsworth football teams, they always are very big at Wadsworth on conditioning. And year in and year out, in the first few games of the year, one of the things you don't see is the Wadsworth team folding in the second half because they're tired. And I think if you look back over the years, a number of early season games have been won, in my opinion, just on this conditioning. So as the game goes on, let's see how fresh Wadsworth look, how fresh Barberton looks, and see if that is any factor in this game.
2nd and 10. Skanik in trouble. Almost intercepted again. That was Jake McIlvain, ran right in front of the receiver, and he tried to run with it before he caught it.
You talk about McCarthy's eyes open wide. I mean, his eyes must have been, watch this, hits him right in the numbers, and there's nobody between him and the goal line. This is just a quick 6. Good pressure being put on by number 51 for Wadsworth, and look at McIlvain, cut in front, and just didn't happen. 51 was Matt Delnos, who's getting in there and putting pressure on the quarterback. So 2 incomplete passes, and that brings up a 3rd down and 10.
Delnos, senior defensive end, in there now. Front 4 for the Grizzlies, doing a fine job tonight. Skanik drops back, scrambles away from Delnos, runs around the right, and he's finally brought down by
wrapped up by number 30, Jake Karowski.
Jake Karowski, one of the inside linebackers for the Grizzlies.
Wadsworth, of course, is laying back looking for the pass, and the quarterback has nowhere to go. Just enough pressure to get him out of the pocket, and he tucks the ball and runs, and then everybody could come back and make the tackle. He gained 5 yards. No, I mean, give him 3 on the play, but that brings up a 4th down and 7 for Barberton. They have to punt.
Well,
the second punt of the night for Barberton.
And the quarterback is now back to punt, and we can see why he's not the starter. He gets a little wobbly punt off. It's touched by Evan Sabatiki at the 38 of Wadsworth. We remember the kicker, Keith Brown, went off after he was knocked on his backside on the kick return. And so now the quarterback, Zach Leskanik, was in there punting.
And, of course, the kicker being the punter, they lost double on that one. I don't see the kicker on the... There he is. He's on the
23.
bench. They have the jersey off, and they're working on his leg. But it doesn't look like he's going to be in the rest of the game. Penalty flags all over the place. See what the referees call on this one. They called the penalty before the ball was snapped. False start on Wadsworth, and that'll back him up 5 yards. So there's a penalty on Wadsworth, but again, I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of that, being the first game of the year. We've got 4:29 to go in the 3rd quarter. Score, of course, Wadsworth 28, Barberton 7.
Wadsworth lining up on the near side hash here, the nearest to us. Give to Tricomi over the middle of the pile to the 34.
Hoover's handoff goes to number 6, Tricomi.
So he gained about 2 yards on the play, and it brings up a 2nd down and 13. Wouldn't surprise me if you see a lot more of this from from Wadsworth the rest of the way out. I don't think they feel the need right now. They have to score as much as they do have to control the ball and keep the clock running. saying this would be a good chance to try out the new running backs. And these running backs are basically rookies. A couple of them have played in a couple games earlier or late last year, but not that many. And to make me a liar, here comes Hoover to pass.
And he finds Tricome out of the backfield, right across midfield.
Hoover rolling to his right, pass is complete to number 6, Tricome.
It's amazing how many different receivers Wadsworth keeps running in and out. And thinking back last year to Hoover, it's amazing how many of them he can pick up. I mean, Adam Copeland, I think, had 43 or 44 receptions last year, but it wasn't like Hoover was always looking for him. They're spread out all between the receivers. So he does a good job of picking out secondary receivers, people running different patterns. In fact, I think Copeland's only caught one pass tonight.
The touchdown pass. And off to Tricome. He's tripped up at the line of scrimmage. Gains maybe 2.
Number 6, Tricome on the carry. Number 27, Darrell Welch on the stop.
See him trip at the line of scrimmage right there. Just too many legs in there to really get a starting run. Second down and 9. Ball on the 45 of the Magics. 2:55 left, third quarter. Pitch to Matt Four, around the left. Gets some blocks. And he's finally brought down at the 30.
Number 2, Matt
It's a gain of 15 for Wadsworth.
Give a lot of credit to, I think it was Delnos who was out in front leading that play, and he was just moving downfield, clearing the way for Ford to make that run. That was a nice run. And I don't know, does it look huge on or not? The Barberton seems to be becoming a little bit unhinged here. They're just not, they're not hitting as sharp, they're not moving as sharp. They're kind of back on their heels right now. And Wadsworth is doing pretty much whatever they want to do.
Another handoff. Wadsworth keeping the ball on the ground. And slowly but surely eating up the yards and the clock here in the third quarter.
Well, what I just mentioned, if you notice that play, the Wadsworth offensive line, that wasn't Ford's running, it was the offensive line had just pushed the Barberton Magics about 3 yards off the line of scrimmage. And say Wadsworth, it's all starting to look like they're out there having fun right now.
I don't care how tired you get of it. I'm going to keep mentioning how great this line is, going to be all season. They're the ones that are going to open up the passing. And Greg Dent, the fullback, gets his first carry of the season across the 10-yard line. And nice job by Greg Dent.
That was a 16-yard carry for Dent. As we said, that was his first carry of the night. They've mostly been giving the ball to the tailback, or whoever is running out of the tailback position.
It's been Four and Tricome.
And now McIlvain's in as the up back. He's been in there quite a bit tonight. I'm kind of surprised to see that because you think of him like last year as a defensive back. Flags all over the field.
Flags on the play.
No signal yet. It's probably going to be delay a game against Wadsworth. No, it's against Barberton.
Well, here's the ref with the call. Illegal substitution.
What is an illegal substitution, do you know? I'm not familiar with that penalty. It's not like in basketball where you have to report in. Oh, my.
Four around the left end. He just scampers in, and the 5th touchdown of the night is a run play. Matt Four scampers in to the left side of the end zone. Another Grizzly touchdown. It's now 34-7.
And I'll say it again, all that drive, the Wadsworth offensive line's just beating the Barberton defense right at the snap of the ball. Four walked in basically untouched. There was nobody over there on the side to even make any kind of attempt to stop him. Galpert's coming in for the extra point. And a knuckleball, but it's good.
35-7 Wadsworth. 1:21 left in the third. Larry, an illegal substitution, I think, is like too many men on the field. It's when a player is running off the field before the play is made, and he doesn't quite get off in time.
Okay, I get you. So they substituted a player in. The other one didn't get off the field.
Correct.
Just some numbers here. We're almost at the end of the third quarter. Tracomie has 9 carries for 34 yards. Ford has 9 carries for 71 yards, and that 1 TD. Right now, Hoover is 10 for 14, 164 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Those are fairly impressive statistics, and it's gratifying to me to see the Wadsworth running game starting to get into gear, considering what they lost from last year.
Well, a good line and a good passing game will open the running game,
right.
regardless of who's running the ball.
I think Gelpert's going to get tired of kicking off here.
Well, when it's after a score,
that's not too bad.
No.
And he's done a good job of keeping the ball away from Harris. So you can't see it on your screen, but Harris is the deep safety, and he's kicking it to short into one side or the other, almost like a guessing game as to where Harris is going to be. And that one goes long down the middle, and Harris is going to get a chance to bring this one back, except he fumbles the ball.
He's having a hard time keeping a hold of the ball tonight. He's brought down at the 30. The other side of the special teams line there that I didn't mention on the last kickoff consists of Dietrich, Chris Lambert, Chris a sophomore. I think Pat McCarthy was in there, and Jake Karowski. Sorry if I screwed that up, but trying to mention all the players that get in the ball game for Wadsworth.
And they've done a good job, with the exception of the out-of-bounds kick would put the ball on the 35-yard line. I think this is the farthest out that Barberton started, on the 30-yard line. So good job to the special teams. It's the referee's timeout on the field, and there's an equipment problem with the helmet of number 52. And the refs got it fixed and say, okay, let's wind up the clock. So Barberton takes over on their own 30, a minute 15 to go in the third quarter. And as you can see on your screen, they're down by 4 touchdowns.
Harris will be the lone back, 3 receivers for Barberton. Laskanik is in trouble, but he gets away from it, drops the head, runs around before he's pushed out of bounds right at the Wadsworth bench.
I think it was Delnos that was in there in the beginning putting the pressure on the quarterback, even though he got away. By that time, everything had fallen apart, and the quarterback was running for his life. The quarterback's not a bad runner. He actually gained 4 yards in the play, so it brings up a 2nd down and 6.
Matt Delnos taking a deserved breather. He went to the bench. Try to see who's in there now for Wadsworth. Harris brought down hard by Jake Wilhite from the linebacking position.
That was a great tackle by Wilhite. He just stood his ground. He wasn't faked out, and when Harris tried to fake around him, just went in. Watch number 32, if you can see right there. Holds his ground, then a good hit, sure tackle, brings Harris down. So that brings up a 3rd down and about 7.
With Delnos on the sideline for the moment, Mike Mueller, 6'1" junior, now in at defensive tackle for the Grizzlies. Skanik looking to pass, throws long down the middle of the field, in and out of the hands of the receiver, number 1, Sean Triplett, the senior wide receiver for Barberton.
I was watching number 21, Darrell Owens, in that play. And when everybody went deep, he came across the middle, and he was wide open about 15 yards downfield, but Barberton elected to throw the ball further down. I don't know if you can watch when the ball's thrown. See if you can watch number 21 somewhere in your screen. He's just going to be standing there wide open. There was nobody near him right there, but the ball went beyond and dropped by the Barberton receiver.
Skanik, the quarterback, now has to punt. And it goes out of bounds. Wisely Vood just lets it roll.
Skanik's punt goes out of bounds on the 34-yard line.
34-yard line is where Wadsworth will start with 13 seconds left in the third.
That was a 32-yard punt, and considering that's not their first-team punter, that wasn't bad. 32 yards and no run back. But Wadsworth takes over in relatively good field position, 34-yard line, 1st and 10. And if it's the running play, this will be the last play of the third quarter.
Another unsung hero for the Wadsworth line tonight, Josh Miracle, the senior center, doing a great job giving Hoover plenty of time to throw the ball. This time it's a pitch to 4 and behind a couple of blockers, and he takes it up to the 45.
It's going to be about a 10-yard gain, depending on where they spot the ball. I think it's going to be just short of a first down. And they're calling time for the end of the third quarter. Nothing fancy.
Some other substitutions that have come in the game. Junior Willie Orr is in the game at tight end. Chris Brink not out there now. And at the end of the third, you see the score 35-7.
To review the scoring for you, but it might take the rest of the game. Barberton scored first, 39-yard rush by Harris. Point after was good. Then it's been all Wadsworth after that. 15-yard pass from Hoover to Osterlin. Galpert extra point. 12-yard pass to Brink. Galpert again. Hoover to Brink, 9 yards. Extra point. Hoover to Copeland, 12 yards, extra point. And then 4 ran the ball in on a 5-yard run. Harris for Barberton now has 96 yards rushing. The leading running back for Wadsworth has been 4, who has 10 carries for 80 yards. Jacromi, 9 carries for 34. And as we reported before, Hoover is still 10 out of 14 with 4 TDs and 164 yards total passing. They did call it a first down, so it's going to be 1st and 10 Wadsworth on the 45-yard line as we start the fourth quarter.
Players ready to go.
And on the first play is number 4.
There's a big pile up on that. 4 was stopped by the center of the Barberton line for very little gain. I think they're giving them 1 yard, so it's going to bring up a 2nd and 9. But right now, Wadsworth's biggest ally is the clock, and that's Barberton's biggest enemy. They're not playing Wadsworth right now. They're playing the clock, and you can't do a good job of it when you don't have the ball. Penalty flags all over the place, and the Barberton people are all pointing at Wadsworth. So somebody on the Wadsworth line broke too soon. That's 5 yards against Wadsworth. It's going to bring up a 2nd down and 14. Handoff to McIlvain, and he was tripped up at the line of scrimmage, which was too bad. If he had gotten through there, he had a ways to run. I think that's McIlvain's first carry tonight, and picked up about 2 yards, so that's going to bring up a 3rd and 12 for Wadsworth.
Larry, we've got a couple backup receivers in the game now, too. Number 23 is Blake Busen. He's a junior.
Wonder if that's Josh's brother.
I believe so. And Mike Valiente is also a junior. And 4 finds some running room up the middle. Ball is fumbled and picked up by Barberton. R.J. Swain, another flag down.
Another fumble, and Wadsworth recovered the ball. That may not be a flag, it may be a spot.
Oh, he had to spot the ball twice when it was fumbled. His white flag went on the first one. He had to throw his yellow one for the second one.
We'll see how the referees are calling a timeout.
The officials to sort this out, we had the ball going to the ground.
So it's going to be interesting when they get this thing all settled, what happened. One thing for sure is 4 ran the ball 21 yards before everything happened.
Outside linebacker Ivan Young for Barberton looked a little shaken up there. Number 20 on the middle of your screen.
Okay, now to try to settle this out. Okay, Wadsworth ran the ball and fumbled. The Barberton kid picked up the ball,
fumbled,
ran the ball back. There was an illegal block against Barberton on the run back, but the Barberton runner fumbled the ball. Wadsworth recovered the fumble and then decided to decline the penalty, of course, because that would have given the ball back to Barberton. So when all is said and done, Wadsworth has a 1st and 10 on the 48-yard line. That one you could put on the highlight films or low-light films, as the case may be.
On the exchange of fumbles, the Grizzlies maintain possession. It'll be 1st down and 10. Now at quarterback, number 11, Jeff Hanna.
Well, Jeff Hanna, the backup quarterback, now in there for Mike Hoover. Hanna, of course, the starting safety. Hanna's going to hand it off. Hanna still only a junior. He's a free safety. Now the backup quarterback in there for Wadsworth. Coach Dennison figuring we've got this big lead. Why not give some of the other guys a chance early in the season?
I agree, and you don't want your people getting hurt either when there's no need. You look out there at Wadsworth, and in the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter, you see more and more relatively clean jerseys. It isn't like muddy out here or anything, but you can tell the difference between the people that have played a bit and the ones that have just come in. And like I say, more and more and more clean jerseys are coming in.
Well, I see one in there, Dan Painter, junior wide receiver, number 80. He's at the top of your screen. Dan, also a member of the Wadsworth Grizzly baseball team. Give to 4. Off tackle gets across midfield, and 4 is over 100 yards rushing for the evening.
That should make it about 106 yards for 4. So he's done a good job coming out of that tailback spot and rushing the ball. But again, a lot of credit goes to the line for opening up the hole. We're at 9 minutes to go in the 4th quarter and counting. And you don't like to be this way. It's kind of hard to imagine a scenario that would allow Barberton to win this game. And if Barberton come back and win it, they'd make a grade B movie out of it.
Jeff Hanna hollering out the play. Hands it to the up man, Greg Dent, who's in at fullback. He doesn't get anywhere.
That one never got off the ground at all. I think what the Barberton defense is going to do, realize, all right, we've got the backup quarterback in there. Wadsworth wants to take time off the clock, so we're just going to bunch everything up the middle. And that's what happened there. The line went nowhere. Brings up a 4th down and 8. And Wadsworth is going to be punting. It's only the 2nd punt that they've had tonight. Jeff Hanna is going to do the punting.
The versatile Jeff Hanna.
Jeff Hanna to kick. Next deep, number 3, Walton, and number 32, Garrett.
And Wadsworth now calls timeout. They didn't have everybody on the same page. They only had 10 men on the field, I believe. And that's a pretty good reason to call a timeout.
Quentin Walton and Darren Harris are back to receive the kick.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to give a special thank you to American Medical Response and the Barberton Fire Department for their dependable service again during this 1999 home football season. We appreciate their help.
Well, there's a little bit of time here. Just remember, next week, Wadsworth will be playing Cuyahoga Falls at home. First game in the renovated Art Wright Stadium, so hope to see you people there. Falls should have a pretty good team. That'll be a tough one.
Yeah, maybe renovated. We'll see.
It'll be interesting.
That was Barberton lets the ball drop at the 36.
That was a badly shanked punt. I think only went about 18 and 20 yards. 15-yard punt and no run back. And I think Barberton is sending in, no, I always thought they were sending in a new quarterback, but I see number 7 still coming out onto the field. So what's Barberton going to do now? Are they just going to say, okay, it's pretty much over, we're going to run the clock out, or are they going to start going for it? Now, here comes Harris out of the game. They got wideouts all over the field.
3 and 1 back, the fullback. Scannick's just going to have to run with it himself. And he meets Jake Kurowski, who brings him down at about the 44.
I was watching the 2 wideouts on this side of the field, and I'll tell you something that Barberton's doing wrong. They're running their wideouts on a crossing route, but the Wadsworth defense is set so far back that they run their crossing routes in front of the defense, and it doesn't fool anybody. But once they ran the crossing routes, then they were well covered by the defenders, and quarterback had to just take off and run with it. And Harris, who just came back in the game, has not rushed for 100 yards yet. He's only at 96 yards. And the reason I mention that, he's a junior. His first 2 years, he rushed for over 1,000 yards. So Wadsworth has done a good job of keeping him in check tonight. Another Barberton player down with what looks like muscle cramps. Still working on the Barberton player. They're working on his, looks like his right calf muscle.
It's the same guy, Larry.
Same person.
That's the third time he's been down today.
I wonder if there's a penalty for having muscle cramps too many times in a quarter, like 5 yards and loss of down or something like that.
Line of scrimmage, second down and 2, Barberton.
3 receivers again. Now Harris, the lone back. Scannick keeps it. Now flips it to Harris, almost loses a handle on it. He gets the first down and a couple more, almost to midfield.
Pat McCarthy did a good job of not tackling the ball carrier, but hitting him and slowing him up so that he didn't have much to gain. So Barberton gets a first down right at about, well, they're calling it the 48-yard line of
Mike Beeler on the stop.
Barberton. It's the second first down for Barberton in the second half. But Wadsworth will give them those all night long because the clock is under 7 minutes and running. The referees call timeout.
Fans starting to file out, as this one is well in hand for the Grizzlies. And they will start out the season with victory number 1.
They're calling a penalty on Barberton, or I mean on Wadsworth, I believe. No. I guess it was just a referee's timeout. They're over talking to the Wadsworth bench, but nothing's going on. And now the referee winds up the clock, and away we go again.
Now Scannick finds a receiver in Quentin Walton, who tried to run before he had a hold of the ball.
And I'm not sure that wasn't a fumble. It looked like he had that ball a long time before it came loose, but the referee's right down there, and they said, no, it was an incomplete pass. So that'll bring up second and 10 for Barberton.
Number 33, Chris Hawkins, now in the ball game, a sophomore linebacker.
The quarterback for Barberton Atlantic is 7 for 13, 65 yards, and he's thrown 1 interception.
He drops back, scrambling, gets a block, across midfield. Tackle by Mike Mueller and Pat McCarthy.
The Wadsworth defensive backs were so far back, there were like 5 Barberton linemen just standing there with no one to block. And watch this whole wall of Barberton linemen is standing there. But Wadsworth has like 7 defensive backs back, and he's looking, well, there's nobody there, everybody's covered, and there's just a wall of white behind the quarterback. Then he decides to take off with the ball.
Nice tackle by Mike Mueller. Jason Lorton, senior, also in the game.
So it's 3rd and 5 now for Barberton.
Steve Robertson, a defensive back.
Lateral to
Harris.
And great play by number 22.
And Harris is...
Pat McCarthy to get back there.
Lucky he didn't drop that ball. He's not taking care of the ball at all.
No, when he got hit by McCarthy, he tries to turn around. He's got that ball held out there like a loaf of bread. Watch. Tough pass. It was a lateral. Now there's McCarthy. And watch Harris just hold the ball out there as he tries to squirm around and get away. And McCarthy just stood with it and made the tackle. So it brings up a 4th down and 10 for Barberton, and
Of course, they're going to go for it.
no, they're not. They're going to punt. Well, I don't know if anybody's believing that. Wadsworth doesn't have anybody deep. And it is a punt, and the Wadsworth receiver just let it go over the head and hope it rolls into the end zone.
And it doesn't.
It's not going to. So it'll be downed on the 1-yard line, and in the stat book, that's going to look like a great kick.
Yeah, the stat doesn't show there was no Wadsworth player back to receive the punt.
That was a 52-yard punt, no return, but like
40 yards of that was a roll.
And Nody back there to cover it.
5 minutes remaining for victory number 1 for the Grizzlies. And the remaining schedule for the Grizzlies, again, looks like this. They put the W next to tonight's game already. Look at that.
A little premature, but I think we can live with that.
Next Friday at home, Arkwright Stadium versus Cuyahoga Falls. And we're ready. Jeff Hanna still in at quarterback.
Just tried to wedge people out and gained a yard. Looking at that schedule, if you want to mark a couple on your calendar, once again, it's the Revere game at home on the 17th, and then finally the Copley game, last game of the season, home on the 29th. Not that you shouldn't see them all, but those are two that are going to be a little bit special, I think. They said there was no gain on the play, so Wadsworth has a 2nd down and 10, and they mark the ball on the 3-yard line. There's so many new Wadsworth ball players.
Handoff is to Chris Hawkins, sophomore tailback, number 33.
Got 3 yards on the play, so that's going to bring up a 3rd and 7. We are really going deep in the depth chart now. That was the first varsity run for him, he's just a sophomore. 3rd and 7.
Hawkins gets it again.
That's going to bring up they give him no gain, going to bring up a 4th and 7 from the 6-yard line. But again, the most important number is 3:30, and that's how many minutes and seconds are left. So Wadsworth is going to punt it out of their end zone.
Special teamers come out on the field. Jeff Hanna gonna punt it for the Grizzlies.
And Harris is not back to receive.
No, we've got Quentin Walton and Evan Suboticki back to receive for the Magics. The snap is high. Nice job by Hanna to come down with the snap and get it off. And
That's
on the far side of the field, it's out of bounds. Barberton will have the ball on the Wadsworth. Can't see what yard line. About the 22.
22 or 23-yard line, so that was a 17-yard punt. So the last 2 punts for Wadsworth has been 17 yards and 18 yards, I think. But again, this is going to look good in the stats book, but it was all set up by the fact that Wadsworth didn't have anybody back to receive the punt from Barberton. So we'll see what Barberton does. Harris is back in again at the tailback punt.
Harris, spin move across the line, gains.
Looks like 6 or 7. They're giving him 5, bring up 2nd and 5. Watch the spin move that Harris puts on at the end. Once again, looks like he almost loses the ball here as he's spinning around and getting hit, but he hung on to it.
Doug Perigo was there
that gives
to
Harris,
assist in the tackle.
That gives Harris his 100 yards rushing for the night.
Most of that grueling yards.
Except for the one big one that he broke, yeah.
Yep. Scannick over the top. And nice clean play. Pass intended for Sean Triplett.
Well, Ben Osterland was there on the coverage, and if the pass had been thrown to the receiver, he would knock it down. It was thrown out of bounds. 2 minutes and 13 seconds left now. 3rd and 5 for Barberton. And the stands are starting to empty out fairly rapidly now. Harris shows some very good moves running there.
Number 32, Darren Harris, the ball carrier.
Takes the ball down to about the 5-yard line. There are a lot of backups playing the Wadsworth offensive line and secondary now. So it makes it a little easier for Mr. Harris to get his yards. Brings up a 1st and goal for Barberton on the 5-yard line.
On the 5-yard line, it'll be 1st down, goal to go, Magic.
1st down, goal to go. Give to Harris. Pushes just shy of the goal line.
They're going to mark it on about the 1, I believe. So it'll be 2nd and goal from the 1 with 1 minute and 38 seconds to go.
Number 36, Jake McElvain, and number 30, Jake Morosky on the stop.
McElvain and Morosky were the ones that hit him there.
Ball resting on the 2-yard line. 2nd down, goal, Magic.
Now 2nd and goal. Skanik keeps it himself. He's in for a touchdown. And that's too little too late for the Magics.
1 minute and 10 seconds to go.
Touchdown, Magic.
But like you said, John, it's way too little and way too late. It'll be interesting to see if they go for 2 here, if they kick the extra point. It doesn't really matter. Looks like they're going to kick. Yep, here comes the kicking tee being thrown in.
Glad you could join us on WCTV Channel 16 for Wadsworth Grizzly football. Beautiful graphic there.
Remember, their kicker is out of the ball game, was injured trying to make a tackle on a kick run back, and it's a fake, and they're looking for somebody to throw the ball to, and they do, but he's not going to make it into the end zone.
Pat McCarthy there to stop it. Great game for Pat McCarthy.
So Wadsworth will get the ball back with 1 minute and 10 seconds left to play, and I'm sure if they get the ball, they'll run 2 plays, and that'll be it. So it looks like it's going to wind up 35-13 in favor of Wadsworth. Reflecting on this game a little bit, in the paper today, Barberton was chosen to beat Wadsworth by all 3 of the pickers. And I figured it would be a good game. I'm a little surprised at how easy it's been for Wadsworth, and I think most of that is due to how the offense stayed in gear from last year. They just picked up where they left off last year and went on. And Barberton, even with their great running back, just couldn't control the line of scrimmage and get him loose to do any real damage.
He got his 100 yards, but the only damage he did was that breakaway run there early in the game. And the Wadsworth defense, fine job. Really both sides of the ball. Wadsworth's been pretty solid for the first game of the season.
There were some people saying that this might be the toughest team that Wadsworth plays all year, even given in the conference Revere and Copley are also very good. Barberton was supposed to be a cut above those. And that's what makes it surprising that it was as easy as it was.
And Revere, of course, 1 loss last year, and their lone loss was to the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
Ball's kicked out of bounds, penalty flag for a delay of game, and Wadsworth will take over on their 35-yard line.
And if you remember that game last year, Larry, Wadsworth winning 31-13 against Revere, so we'll see what happens in the coming weeks.
Jeff Hanna still in a quarterback, and a lot of nice white jerseys there on the offensive line, as I'm sure a lot of sophomores are getting their chance to play.
And that's Chris Hawkins, the sophomore, showing he can run the ball as well for the Grizzlies.
Picked up a 1st down. And we're now under a minute to play in the fourth quarter.
So Darren Harris, you'll see the box score. He had 111 yards and 2 touchdowns, but really that was it. 1 touchdown.
Right, the quarterback
ran the other one. Hannah going down to one knee.
And that, for all practical purposes, ends the game. There won't be another snap, I don't think.
30 seconds remaining.
Seconds to go, and I guess that does it. So, good start for the Wadsworth Grizzlies. Looking forward to a good year here. I want to thank John Gramuglia for doing the stats. He's saying no, but we're still going to thank him. Good job shoving the numbers at me, John. And we'll see you in Medina, I guess, right? Right, he's going to be in Medina. And I think Mike Schmelzer is going to be doing the stats for the other games, the Wadsworth home games.
Mike will probably like to hear his name on the air, so.
And that's it.
The whistle blows. Final score, Wadsworth Grizzlies 35, Barberton Magics 13. Next week we'll be at home at Artwright Stadium versus the Cuyahoga Falls Black Tigers. Last year the Grizzlies losing to the Tigers in the second game of the season. This game against Barberton, of course, replacing the Hudson matchups that went on for a number of years. It's been quite a while since this rivalry between Barberton and Wadsworth has taken place. Wadsworth has the upper hand now, winning by a big margin. And we'd like to thank the WCTV crew of Ken Buck, Todd Constantine, Tyler Doyle, Andy Levitt, Chris Woosnam. And we'd like to thank you for tuning in. And we are going to tighten up our productions here as the season goes along, and we hope you can still join us. Tune in for Grizzly Gridiron Monday evening at 9. We will have Coach Dennison and some guest players. We'll review the highlights of every game. And here's the Grizzly TV web address. That's grizzlytv@yahoo.com. See you later, Larry. And we'll be back next week versus the Black Tigers, hoping the Grizzlies can go 2-0. For the whole crew and Larry Varner, I'm the voice of the Grizzlies, John Bernard. We'll see you next week. So long, everybody.
From Artwright Stadium on another glorious Friday evening, it's game number 2 of the 1999 Wadsworth Grizzly football season. Hi again, everybody. John Bernard along with Larry Varner once again. And tonight, it's the 1-0 Cuyahoga Falls Black Tigers coming in to play the host Wadsworth Grizzlies, who are also 1-0. Last weekend, Friday, the Wadsworth Grizzlies defeated the Barberton Magics 35-13, and the Falls down to Elyria 35-6. Last year, these two clubs met at Cuyahoga Falls, and the Falls prevailed by a final score of 35-6, and it should be an exciting game tonight, Larry.
Yeah, Cuyahoga Falls, when you talk about them, you talk about offense. Last week, their running back, Scott Froelich, ran for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns against the area. But one of the things the Wadsworth coaches are worried about is the quarterback, Matt Thompson. He's a move-in, and he led his Arizona high school team to the state championship last year. So they're going to have to worry about him. As far as receiving concerned, the big receiver is the tight end, Jim Lipinski, number 15. Catches a lot of balls on drag patterns over the middle. Cuyahoga Falls won the toss, and Wadsworth will be kicking off to the Falls, and we're ready to go.
Sam Gelpert, end-over-end kick. Caught at the 15-yard line, and a hole up the middle is found by Craig Meganhart, a 160-pound senior, and ball's will start with the ball at about their own 38.
Well, last week, the Wadsworth special teams did an outstanding job. There were 7 kickoffs for Wadsworth, and the ball never came out past the 35-yard line, and that was on a kick that went out of bounds. I don't think that Barberton started beyond their 30 when they actually received the ball, so the special teams have done a good job. So let's see if they emphasize the pass or the run on the first play here for Cuyahoga Falls.
And there's a fumble recovered by, we can't see yet. Referee's going to indicate that the Tigers will keep the ball.
It was lost about 2 yards on the play. It's interesting that last week the Falls beat Elyria 35-6, but Elyria turned the ball over, I think, 4, maybe 6 times, and one of them was a fumble in the end zone. So the Falls defense is a little bit suspect because even though Elyria didn't score many points, they did manage to move the ball. And I think this is going to be one of those games, whoever gets the ball last is going to win. Second and about 14 for the Falls.
Matt Thompson, the quarterback for the Black Tigers, scrambles out of a sack, gets across the 40, to the 45, falls down in midfield for a Cuyahoga Falls first down.
Tony Moeller made a shoestring tackle on that and hit the quarterback Thompson just enough that he stumbled forward, his pin came down. And this is the dimension that wasn't talked about, like in the Beacon Journal article and the Gazette article, the fact that they've got a very good quarterback in there.
Matt Thompson, a 6'3", 170-pound senior quarterback. And in the backfield, number 20, Scott Freilich, the junior tailback. He scored 4 touchdowns and ran for 211 yards on 24 carries last week against Elyria. The offensive line for the Falls jumps.
And the Wadsworth defense right now is caught in a little bit of a bind because they don't know whether to defense primarily the run and give them the passing game or defense the passing game and give them the run. So as the game progresses, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Wadsworth defense plays up tight to concentrate on the run or decide to go after the quarterback and play a little looser and stop that. So that'll be a 1st and 15 for the Falls.
The quarterback, Matt Thompson, this is his first year at the helm for the Falls. Because, Larry, the Falls did not return a player who threw even 1 pass last season. So this is his first year at quarterback as a senior. High formation to give play action. Thompson rolling the right, dumps it off to number 15, Lipinski. Lipinski, Larry mentioned, the tight end, very athletic for the Falls.
He just caught the ball and ran out of bounds. It was a good pass, and it picked up about 10 yards. It's going to leave him with the 2nd down and 10, but that was a very good play.
45-24 is on the end for the Grizzlies. Black Tigers pick up about 6 yards.
Something of interest, Cuyahoga Falls is the Division I team, and if Wadsworth is looking on down the road to make the playoffs, these are the games they have to win, the first 3 games. They beat Barberton, the Division II team, last week. Here's the Falls Division I. If they could manage to beat this team, they'd be in good shape for the playoff picture.
Hand off to Freilich. He powers over the 40-yard line in Wadsworth territory. He's at about the 37.
Jeff Dietrich made the tackle, and it's going to be close to a 1st down. Referees are looking it over. No signal yet. Now they're signaling 1st down for the Falls, so that's their 2nd 1st down on this drive.
The Tigers will advance the ball on the ground. Freilich, the junior running back, quick and very durable, and he seems to get stronger as the game goes on. The Grizzlies had watched some film this week on him, and they will be keying on him. The Falls completed only 3 passes last week.
And maybe they didn't have to complete anymore.
Give is to Freilich. Ran up the middle and into a wall of Grizzlies.
Falls running out of the I formation with Freilich as the wingback.
Greg Dent on the tackle there for Wadsworth, junior linebacker.
Some of the linemen for Wadsworth that did a good job last week. Evan Gosser did a real good job, and Ian Formas also for the defense as far as the Grizzlies were concerned. Of course, some of those players play both ways. Up here from the booth, it's kind of hard to pick up who the linemen are that are doing the job, but those 2 did a good job last week.
Play action. Pass is downfield and caught by Craig Meganhart. Nice rollout pass by Matt Thompson to Craig Meganhart, senior.
I didn't see Megan Hart. I think he came out of the backfield on that. We can watch this on replay. I can't see 35. But when the quarterback rolled to his left, Megan Hart came wide open, and had the ball been thrown just a little bit better, he could have walked into the end zone because there were no Wadsworth defenders near him. So the Falls is looking very impressive on this. That was a 27-yard pass play.
Only Jake McElvain there to stop him from running in the end zone.
So that brings up a first down, and they're calling it 9 on the 9-yard line.
9:10 left, first period. Graylick tried to step around the right end, and he was tackled by Jake Wilhite, the outside linebacker for the Grizzlies.
It was a good open field tackle by Jake. Picked up maybe 2 yards, so that is going to bring up another. They're spotting it on the 5. That's going to bring up a 2nd and 5 on the 5.
Substitutions for the Falls.
Looks like that the Falls is going with the full house backfield to get more blocking up the middle. And here they come out, and you see the 3 backs in the backfield. It's a power eye right.
Pass play. Thompson in trouble, has to get rid of it in the corner of the end zone. It's caught for a Black Tiger touchdown. That was number 15, Jim Lipinski.
That was Lipinski. He came out as a tight end and just ran a drag pattern right across the back of the end zone, and the Wadsworth defensive backs couldn't keep up with him. And I'm going to tell you, John, we'll watch this on replay. There's a quick fake by the quarterback right there to keep everybody honest, and then he's looking over there for Lipinski, and Lipinski just comes right across the field. And that's an easy 6 points.
Matt Delnos looked like he committed a little early there. He might have been able to get a hand on the quarterback.
The kicker for the Falls,
Mark Sabino puts it up and in, makes it 7-0. Cuyahoga Falls with 8:22 left first quarter.
Last week when the Cuyahoga Falls had 7 kickoffs against Louisville, none of them were returned. Every one was put in the end zone. And I'll tell you, Cuyahoga Falls made that one look really easy. So let's see what Wadsworth can do on offense and see if they can come back and match the score.
Last week, Barberton came right out, scored early, and Wadsworth took over from there in a dominating win for the Grizzlies. And of course, their passing game is what does it for them. Mike Hoover doing a great job of spreading the ball around. He has an array of targets on the field, and Chris Brink, Adam Copeland, and the Benz, Bugis, and Osterland. And Larry, with 79 yards passing tonight, Mike Hoover will break Rob Sondel's career record at Wadsworth High School.
Well, if he stays healthy, I think that Hoover's going to break every passing record at the school, and probably Adam Copeland's going to break every receiving record. You hit on something really important. What Hoover does is such a good job of finding the secondary and even his third receivers. He does spread the ball around. Very good at that. So let's see if the Falls kicker can put the ball in the end zone this time.
And surprisingly, the Grizzlies came out with still a potent running game against Barberton. Matt Fore running for over 100 yards, and Falls can't gear up to stop that run because that'll open up the passing game and vice versa.
Yeah, it's the same old story. You know, good passing game sets up your running game. Good running game sets up your passing game. If you can keep everybody concerned about Hoover, then Fore is going to get those yards.
The Grizzlies have had a running back gain at least 100 yards in 6 straight games and 24 of their last 31 regular season contests. Sabino's kick is all the way to the end zone and in and out of the hands of Joe Tricomi. Wadsworth will start at the 20.
Well, like I was just saying, the kicker's kicked the ball out of the end zone every time he's kicked off so far. In high school, there's a rule that you cannot return a kickoff that is kicked into the end zone. So it isn't like one of those deals where you can field the ball 2 yards deep and come out. Once you field the ball in the end zone, that's where you're stuck. So let's see what Wadsworth can do their first series of downs, see if they can push it downfield and tie this game up.
Mike Hoover, senior quarterback. That formation is Joe Tricomi and Greg Denton at fullback. Hoover started to go right, steps up, passes it off to Ben Bugis for a completion across the 30-yard line.
That was a nice play to Bugis as you see him coming out and Osterland coming in. They'll do that a lot tonight. They alternate their wide receivers.
Well, they run plays in from the sideline.
Use the wide receivers. Yeah. Keep an eye on Copeland, 83 at the bottom of your screen. Chris Brink, the tight end at the top. They're the two really the prime receivers.
Pitch to Joe Tricome, tries to get around the right, takes it down